paid your bill?
I paid the bill. The bill's been paid.
Okay,
I reset the internet twice. We're ready to rock. So, Michael, I'm gonna let you do the intro today.
Do you still use Choking Hazard Podcast 2020?
No, we don't even use that. Like, just deal with the standard intro. Like, introduce our new guest, thank her for coming on. You know, standard stuff like that.
Standards. Okay, so with Choking Hazard Podcast, I don't know what episode
you don't
number
even
this
have
is.
to say that.
Keep this in, by the way. Keep this in. Okay. So we have Alison Tremblay on, black belt legend in the Ontario and Canadian Jiu-Jitsu scene. We want you to introduce yourself, and we're going to jump into a very interesting thread that has come out very recently. We're going to start with that. Alison Tremblay, give everybody at home, for people that don't know who you are, tell them a little bit about yourself.
All right. Well, so my name's Alison Tremblay, obviously. I'm 29 years old. I've been training jiu-jitsu, I say officially since I was 18, so 11 years, but I kind of, when I was younger, dabbled in it here and there. Like, my dad's always coached me, so I just kind of did it in between like hockey and soccer when I was getting bored at that. I'm a black belt, first degree black belt under BTT Canada, so Fabio Holanda in Montreal. But like I said, I train with my dad, Peter Tremblay, in Carleton Place, a small town just outside of Ottawa. We're like 11,000 now. Been competing like as long as I've been training. It's just something that I've always loved to do. So I'm a 4-time IBJJF world champion. So I won purple belt worlds, won brown belt worlds, and then 2-time, not 4-time, 2-time. I've won that JJF 2 times as well. I came second twice at black belt IBJJF. I lost in 2016 by ref's decision in the finals, which was the most heartbreaking moment of my life, but we're over it now. Competed in ADCC, competed in Abu Dhabi. I've come third there 3 times, once as a blue belt, twice as a black belt. So yeah, just like been competing a lot. I love to compete. I love to train. That's pretty much me. I'm a police officer in Ottawa. Just started that. I've been making like the transition from full-time athlete to now like part-time athlete / coach, which has been like an interesting transition. But yeah, it's been going well so far.
How's your transition from, especially going from that full-time type athlete into now such like again a prominent role as a police officer?
Yeah, it was interesting. It wasn't like easy, that's for sure. Like, it was definitely hard, like mentally and even physically. You know, you go from training, like I was training twice a day, 6 days a week, to like going to police college and being lucky to train once a week. Like, that was a huge transition mentally. Like, you don't realize like how much jiu-jitsu helps with like your mental health and just like overall mood until you like remove it from your life significantly. And then with COVID, right, it's been an interesting transition. But like, it's still like I got to compete in all like the major tournaments that I wanted to compete in, and I like consider that I've done like pretty well. So, you know, I still will be competing, but it's just like, it's not that main priority anymore. Like, I'm not gonna anymore not put in the time at work because I have to get to training, right? It's now I'm gonna put in extra time at work, and if I have to miss training, that's just the way it is. So it's been different, but I think if you go in with your expectations at the right point, it's a little bit easier to kind of handle. That's for sure. Anyway.
Nice. What made you decide to, because you're a full-time athlete and then pursuing a career in the Ottawa Police Force? What made you decide like that was like the next transition for you? Yeah,
like so it's something that I've always wanted to do. Always have been like interested in that line of work, but I was kind of at a point with my jiu-jitsu, like I guess kind of getting into what we were going to talk about anyway, but like as a woman, right? Like, it's like I have goals later on in life. Like, I want to have kids, I want to do all this stuff, but it's hard to make money where I can sustain like having a house and having kids just based on training full time, right? Like, I would love to be able to make that my career, but it just wasn't looking like I wouldn't get to live the life I wanted to live and train jiu-jitsu full time, right? So it was kind of realizing like I'm at a stage in my life where it's time for me to kind of move on to that next chapter, and moving into policing was an easy transition, and it still allows me to have like the jiu-jitsu lifestyle that I want to have, right? Like, I still get to train, I'll still get to compete. It's just it's just going to look a little different. And if that's, I kind of came to a point where if that's what I needed to do to like have the life I want in the next 5 years, like I'm okay with that, you know?
Well, I want to kind of transition because I had a little clip when we had Janie on.
Yeah.
And here we go. This is
it got posted.
We're going head first right now. Right.
Oh yeah, we're gonna go right into it. And you were the first person to step up in there, and you even said like, "Hey, I might get some heat for this." And some people brought some heat with them in that conversation. So
this, as the kids say, the smoke was brought to that.
Yeah.
It's funny because like I was actually looking at that thread, and Aaron, like every hour it's like 35 comments, and an hour later he texts me, it's like 78 comments.
No,
and then like I look at the end of the day, it's like 200. I'm like, what the hell is going on? I'm like,
so for everybody. Sorry,
Aaron, go ahead.
Doesn't know what we're talking about. Basically, it was all about equal pay in grappling. Oh, we've lost Jane. We've lost Alison. Hold on.
Oh, we lost her right at the perfect time.
Am I here?
Are you trapped?
Yeah, I can hear you, but we didn't hear anything.
Are you alive?
You can't hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Oh. Can you both hear me?
Yep.
Okay, go for it. Sorry.
Okay.
We lost you at like the best or worst possible time. We're hyping everything up, and then it's just like, oh, she left. She's gone.
No, I'm gone.
Okay, we're going to stop talking. We're on you.
What's the question?
The question was, so like obviously you got a lot of.
You didn't even ask a question, Aaron. What the hell?
I got transition in.
Way to be professional. You have to transition, you hype it up, and then it's like, all right, we're going to throw it to you. I don't know what you're throwing, but I'm going to throw it.
So give me your thoughts on that, how like your original thoughts on the whole post that we did, and then kind of like what transpired after that.
Yeah. So this is something that like I've just started like recently talking about, because I find people get so, it's just one of those things that like you can't really talk about, and people have a lot of emotion behind it and a lot of feelings. But regarding like equal pay in jiu-jitsu, it's tough, right? Like, do I think that like men and women should make the same money regardless of what they do? Obviously, that's not what I'm saying at all. But at the end of the day, like a lot of people complain and bitch, if I can say that, and whine on social media about how there isn't the same opportunities at tournaments. Like you'll go to, let's say, the Ontario Open, and there'll be, trips. There'll be like twice the amount of trips for men as there are for women. And everyone gets all mad, and everyone starts like bitching and is saying like that's why they're not registering for these tournaments. But at the end of the day, it's like it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy, because why as a promoter would you offer like a $1,300 trip when you have 2 women signing up in like the brown and black belt division? Like you're literally going to lose money on that trip. So that was all my point was like, listen, if we want the same opportunities as men, we have to start showing up, and we have to start registering for these tournaments. It's silly for us, for like us as women anyway, to complain that we don't have the opportunity when we're not creating the opportunities for ourselves, right? We're not going, it's not like there's 20 girls registered and then like Fernando, not that he would ever do this, is like, I'm not going to give a trip to women. Like that's not what he's doing. It's not like it's not practical for him to like, give as many trips, because he would lose money. And why as a promoter, you don't want to lose money as a promoter or as an organizer of a tournament. And that's all my point was like, do I think like on a super fight, if like that I should be paid the same as like a black belt? Again, like, I don't know, like maybe, but at the end of the day, like if I were to fight Gordon Ryan would kick my ass. So why should I make the same amount of money as Gordon Ryan? That's all kind of my point was. And then everybody just kind of
exploded from there. I think you make an important point. Like, for example, like let's say you're a police officer, you do the same amount of work as your other male police officers. Should you get paid the same? Like, I don't think anybody's going to make that argument. That's going to say, oh no, you should get paid less because you're a woman. Yeah. That's not what you're saying at all. Yeah. But I think when it comes to jiu-jitsu, it's very subjective, I think, as well, because like you got to look at, and this is the way I'm thinking about it as well. Like, and you even said for like a promoter, like let's say I'm going to host a tournament, I'm going to give a trip to, you know, let's say a certain demographic of people that are signing up and they're showing up. I'm going to be more inclined to give a trip there versus, all right, I'm going to give away a female trip. You know, I want to promote women's jiu-jitsu, but if I'm losing money doing it from a financial or a business, like at the end of the day, like a lot of these tournaments are businesses.
100%.
It's a business.
These are helping you for money,
Yeah.
right? Like,
it's a business. Like if I'm going to offer a trip, I want to at least make my money back, like at the very least.
And like, that's why I mean, I use the Ontario Open because like they're the biggest tournament in Canada, and like they offer trips, and like it's been great. And I've been competing like at that tournament since the first the first Ontario Open that I ever had, and I absolutely love it. But it's like the Ontario Open isn't a charity. They're not giving out trips because like just for the sole purpose of like wanting to be nice and wanting to like better people. Like that's part of it, but it's also like the trips incentivize people to register. So like if you don't register, you can't then bitch that there's no prizes being given out. And that's what frustrates me is like, and my whole point was like, you know, people were saying, well, nobody registers because of the trips. And it's like, well, you can register. And then if there's one other person in your division and you know there's not going to be a trip given out, you can get a refund and you can get your money back. Like, so it's difficult, right? And for me, it's always been challenging because I came up when I started competing, like it was like me and Elena Hardy at Blue Belt, you know, and it was me and Elena Hardy at every single tournament. And I would fight Elena Hardy, and we like every single time. And it's like, and now it's great. Like there's so many more blue belt women competing and so many more purple belt women competing, but it's just frustrating because I hear girls being like, well, I have to fight the same people every time. But it's like, I did too. Like I had to do that. I still have to do that. Like I register for the Ontario Open and it's me and Jacinta. And it's like, oh fuck, I have to fight Jacinta again. Like, great. She's going to take me down and she's going to like smash me. But like, it's how you get better too, right? Like fighting the same people, you improve, and it's all for the betterment and like the growth of the sport. So like I'm happy to do it, but it's just, you know, it's frustrating when like I'm out there competing, putting it on the line, and then there's people that aren't, and then they are bitching. It's just like, I don't know.
I think also another thing is if you really think about it, like early on, like when I started competing as like a white belt and a blue belt, you look at like the female. You look at like the female divisions, it's a lot of them are combined. It's like white. Mm-hmm. You might have a blue belt division, and then it's like purple, brown, black.
Yeah, 100%.
Or like it's like Abu Dhabi Pro Trials. It's like white belt and then the rest. It's like if you're a color belt, you give me a blue belt who just got their blue belt, and you're fighting like a world class black belt. Like,
so funny you mentioned that. 2012 and the Abu Dhabi Pro, first year I got my purple belt. It was purple and up. And like I had to fight Luana from like Alliance in like my first match in the absolute, and I was like, Jesus Christ, like, you know, you're like a brand new pro ball, you're fighting this like 5-time world champion. But like to me, if I want to be a world champion one day, cool. I get to now fight one of the best girls in the world. I like worst case scenario, I lose. I'm supposed to lose. Cool, whatever I learn. But like there's a chance I could beat her, and like how amazing would that be? You know, so it's like I think it's all how you look at it and how you approach it. And if you like the best way to get better at jiu-jitsu competitively is to compete. So the more you compete, the better at competing you're going to get. And it's just like, as a competitor, why wouldn't you want to compete at every tournament you can? And I think like a little part of me gets frustrated too, because it's like, there's like you Toronto people are so spoiled with your tournaments. And I will say this all the time. Every friggin' weekend.
You Toronto mans and all your jiu-jitsu.
You're so lucky. And it's like, you know, so it's like, it's just, yeah, it's like if women want the same prizes and same like opportunities as men in jiu-jitsu, they have to start competing and they have to start showing up at these tournaments, because it's not like, you know, and then we can start being like, hey, what about us, right? But if we're not there and we're not like registering, how can we have a say in what's going on? I think was all my point was.
Yeah, like if there's a tournament, it has 300 men and 10 females, like I think the big question now, I think, is I would say jiu-jitsu's come a long way from even like 5, 6, 7 years ago, especially even like in the female realm of things. Like I would say like when you were competing versus 2020, I would say there's still a lot more females competing now. But I think the big question is how do you get, I asked Janine this as well, because, you know, she's frustrated, I think, with the situation as well. Because she's like, well, I'm a brown belt. I want to compete. But then I'm also like, my point to her and to a lot of females that are higher belt levels, it's like, there's just not that many of you to compete against. So the big question is, how do you get more females to compete against?
So like I think right off the bat, like, again, I'm gonna probably get in trouble for this, but I think right off the bat, I think you're always gonna have more men in jiu-jitsu than women. Like, just because of the nature of the sport, right? Like, more men are going to be attracted to rolling around with other sweaty men than like women are, but like, I'm sorry, but
this is why Aaron wants to, this is how Aaron got into it on day one. He was just like, sweaty men.
That was my plan.
My plan. Sign me up.
As a woman, like, I don't know, not a lot of girls are like, I don't want to roll with like a weird, smelly, sweaty dude. Like, it's just not as like enticing to women, maybe like off the bat. But I think like that's where like finding the right club is super important, like finding a club that like as a woman like respects you but doesn't because I experienced two things, like, right, three things. I experienced like people treating me as like a normal human being and rolling with me like hard and tough, and then you experience like people going too easy with you because you're a woman, and then that doesn't help you get better, and that's not conducive to anything either. But then you have the other extreme. You have people who are like, well, I don't want to get the shit kicked out of me by a girl, so I'm gonna go like damn, and then that's where you get hurt, right? So it's like, it's finding that balance. It's finding the people that understand like you're like understanding that like you physically are different from a man, but not patronizing you,
Mm-hmm.
And like a good instructor who gets that and who understands like how to train women and how to teach women and everyone, really. It's not just women, but
Aaron, would you like to share your story on day one? You were training with a female, and how badly did they wreck you?
They wrecked me. They choked me up. That's why I signed up right after.
I can't let this happen again.
Janine was talking about her. So she's doing her PhD in like, I don't know, neuroscience, something like that. She studies rats. That's what Janine was saying on the last podcast. But like, she's like 125 pounds, and we always put her with like the new guys because it's great, because it shows what jiu-jitsu is, and she just kicks the crap out of them. And you get like two reactions. You get someone like Aaron who's like, sweet, I need to learn this. Or you get people that are like, okay, I'm never coming back because I'm like mortified. So it's just funny like seeing those two like different reactions.
Do you find that at the club that you, just for everybody who's listening, like what's the jiu-jitsu club that you train at in Ottawa? And then I have a follow-up question that I want to ask you as well is, do you find that you being like a black belt female is a lot more accomplished in like the tournament scene? Do you find that helps to attract more females to your gym versus another one?
Yeah. So, okay. So I train. Yeah. So the club I train is called Alpha Mixed Martial Arts in Carleton Place. My dad runs it, owns it. He's like the head coach there. We've been open for like 12 years now. I think it'll be 13 in September. And I get asked this all the time. Like, a lot of people are like, oh, like a lot of girls must come and train. And it's like, yeah, 100%, like it helps. But like at the end of the day too, like there's a reason why I got to be the level that I am. And that's because of like the coaching and like because of my dad and like the coaching and the culture that he's created at the club, right? So like, yes, having me being part of that culture is something that's important too, but it's like, but everybody kind of follows in suit with that because the head coach, doesn't treat women any differently. Like I would say our club's kind of an anomaly. Like I would say we have equal men and women training, and some classes will even have more women than men. And I think it's just because like I've been to so many clubs and it's good, you need this sometimes, but like where, everyone's just trying to like beat the crap out of each other and going 100% every roll. And we take a lot, except for like leading up to big tournaments, but like in regular training, like it's all about like going where you're weakest at and working from there. Right. So if, let's say I'm like a brand new female white belt, and even like if I'm rolling with her, I'm going to go to like my worst position, and because then I get to practice, but then that new person that I'm rolling with, they also get to practice, and they just get the crap kicked out of them for like the whole round, so it helps both people get better. And I think having that kind of culture and mindset, it just makes it a bit more of like an attractive atmosphere for somebody who maybe isn't as like physically like strong, or you know what I mean? Like, do you know what I'm trying to say? I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah. So you're trying to basically, like, it doesn't make sense for you to go, okay, I'm going to go half guard Kimura on this white belt. He's been training 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Because you want to work on things that maybe you're not so good at. I think it's just, I think you mentioned, I think it's more of I think the big thing, probably getting more, I think since we're on the topic of discussing like getting more females involved with jiu-jitsu, I think it's just the culture of the gym. And it doesn't have to be a male or a female running it necessarily, but I think that the culture has to be there to get females comfortable, and I think into trying it and being like, hey, you know what, this is a martial art that can help you.
Yeah, but I definitely think it does help, like having, like, you know, everyone wants to, you want to go and you want to train with people that you can relate to, right? So if you come into a club and it's like all men, and you're like, oh, like, how am I going to fit into this culture? How am I going to kind of fit in with everybody? But if you go in and you see me, you see Jessica, you see like Lisa, who's also a black, like we have 3 female black belts at our club with like a club of like 100 members, you know, like in a small town. So it's like to have 3 female black belts is really cool. And it like it definitely makes people feel like they have someone that they can relate to, right? And like someone that's like them, which I think is helpful too.
Oh yeah, it's a big advantage to especially have that type of culture already set in. So when you if you're giving advice to like somebody who's just starting, like a female just starting, what's the first thing you'd tell them to expect, or to even like, hey, this is what's going to help you moving forward?
Well, I think like the biggest thing is like, it's just like understanding that like it's gonna be weird at first, and that's okay. Like, you know,
it's like a first date. Just hear me out. It's gonna be weird. It's gonna be weird. It's gonna be awkward. You're gonna have Aaron, who's a hairy, sweaty ginger dude. Like it's gonna be weird, but just hear me out. It's gonna be great.
Your jokes aren't landing. Just so you're on the same page. They're not good today.
I'm on fire right now.
You're not.
But yeah, like that, and then just like it's hard because it's like, you know, it really depends what they want out of it too. And I think that that's also something that maybe jiu-jitsu clubs are lacking a little bit as well, is like if someone's coming because they're, you know, they just want to like have an outlet and like have fun and train, like that's one thing, versus like training to become like a world champion. Like those 2 training methods are very, very different. So it's like finding out what the person wants and then giving them that, and like not being too like not trying to shove jiu-jitsu down their throat, so to speak, but just like letting them like appreciate it. I think as a woman, like I think, gonna sound weird, but I think men grow up like being more physical and more hands-on. So like I think that initial hump isn't as great for like men to come over, where like as women, like some women, right, like we don't like wrestle a lot as kids, we aren't too like physical. So just like, you know, getting used to it, but like trying it, like you have to do it and you have to give it a shot and you have to come to it like with an open mind. And I think if you can like, you know, if you can kind of have a reason for doing it, like for fitness or for self-defense, and then just like having that reason in mind the whole time, like will be beneficial as well. But I think just like trying it, like just like anything, like trying it, giving it a shot, and not letting like what you initially think of it like impact your decision, right? Like right away, if someone's on top of you a mount and you don't know them, like that's a really scary thing. But just like learning how to become okay with that and like overcoming that, and just, but again, if you have a good club and if you have a club with like a conducive culture, like that a lot of those struggles get nullified, you know? If that makes sense.
No, 100%.
No, that makes perfect sense. Go on, Aaron.
No, I'm waiting on you, Mike.
You're not impressed with my jokes, so go on, Aaron. I quit.
So when you kind of look at all the competitions that you've kind of done, and again, Ontario Open's been one of the ones that you've really kind of like shined, that you've gotten to the trips on. What's kind of like that special moment on all these tournaments that you've done that have kind of like really stood out to you?
Yeah, so I like obviously like winning the IBJJF Worlds at Purple, like that's a big one, just because it was like the day, like the moment I realized like, okay, like I could do this, and like this is something that like I can pursue, and like I can become even better, and I can maybe one day become a black belt world champ. But so my first year at Purple in 2012, I won 1 gold and came 3rd in the absolute, and I was like, I'm the best, like I am so great. And then my second year at Purple, I like came in, I was like, this is sweet. I won Worlds last year, like whatever. And then I lost my first match, and I was like, what the hell? Like, what is wrong with me? Like, it just was like a really big, like, okay, I need to actually like take this more seriously. Like, I need to just mentally switch. So coming from that to like losing my first match at Purple and then going on the next year to like win the World Championships at Brown was just like a really good, like kind of self-redeeming moment. And that was just really nice to be like, okay, like I suffered this, like at the time, like a huge like blow to like my ego, but I was able to like overcome that and then go on and win Worlds the next year. You know, that was something that was really cool. And then just in terms of like cool competition moments, like competing at ADCC in 2015 in Brazil, like I think that's kind of like every grappler's like dream. So that was like really cool. Mm-hmm. I got Gabby Garcia my first match. I was like so pissed about it. I'm ready. And
so
then
I
we got the draw.
I want to ask you about that. Like, yeah. What is your initial reaction? You go to check the brackets. You're like Alison Tremblay, and then you read the next name.
Yeah.
Like, what's...
So I like, it's funny, right? Like, so my like Mike and my dad came down with me to Brazil. So it's interesting, like being coached by family members, right? Because like it's great in one way because like 100% that they have your back, and like they're like my dad's never gonna tell me to do something that is gonna be bad for me. Like he's never gonna like tell me like is never gonna like risk my health to like make himself or his club look better. And knowing that is awesome because I know like whatever he tells me to do, it's the best of intentions. And having Mike as like a training partner and as someone like we're super close, we're close in age, like we both train, like it's awesome. But like when I get really stressed come like tournaments, it's sometimes bad because like they like we fight and we like we're all stressed and we all kind of get. So anyway, the bracket comes out and I'm like okay, this is fine. Like, I can do this. Like I'm being like super trying to like super positive self-talk myself up. And I look over at my dad and Mike and I could see them like see the bracket and kind of go like fuck. And I just got like so and they're like no, they're like that's, and anyway, that's not what they meant, but like at the time because like I was so stressed, we got in this like big fight about it. But the match was fun. Like I like
shit. I mean nothing.
You can do it, like yeah, exactly, right? Like I just kind of caught them in their like yeah, exactly. But like the match went like 9.5 minutes, and like I had her like in a Kimura at one point, and I remember she just like lifted me off the ground, and I was like 210 pounds at the time, and I was like, Jesus Christ, like she just like deadlifted me like as I'm like trying to Kimura her. But like it was like so it was a good match, like it was a good experience, but like yeah, like I wish I could have like fought a bit more at ADCC in 2015. But then so there was that, and then the 2 black belt world finals, like those were like surreal almost. So like the first year, right, like it's a very interesting transition to black, at least for me it was, because you go from like idolizing these girls, like right, you're blue belt, you're like creeping them all on YouTube, you're watching their highlight videos, and then the next thing you know, you're like standing across the mat from them and you're like, oh shit, I have to beat you now. Like I just like watched and like tried to get better from like watching you, and now I have to like view you as like an equal. So like that was an interesting experience, like my first year. So in the finals I got like totally destroyed because I was just happy to be there. Like I was like, oh, I made it to the finals, I'm awesome. Coming back the second year and like fought the same girl, Fernanda Mazzelli, and was able, like we were tied at the end of the match and it went to like a rest decision. And so like that again was just like a really, like I wish it would have gone the other way, but it was still like a really great moment because it was like you just to see that like improvement from year to year, to be like, okay, like, now I know I belong here and it's a different fight and it's a different battle. So it's been a lot of cool moments,
I think you mentioned one thing as well. It's like coming back from adversity. So a lot of times I think a lot of people need that, where you won Worlds probably in your mind, you go back again, you're like, I won it last year, I'll win it again, I got this. And then I think that was probably like a big wake up call for you. It's like, I can't just show up. I need to put in the work. I need to do what I need to do. I can't just, show up and win gold.
And that was like a huge game plan shift for me. Cause like my game plan, like I've always felt like everyone knows my game plan, right? It's to like get to half guard on top and get a Kimura. Like that's what I do. That's what I want to do. And like And so I found like as a purple belt, I kind of was like, well, I want to start doing like fancy stuff. I want to do like, I'm going to pull guard. I'm going to like start doing like like pulling guard is fancy, not that pulling guard is fancy, but like, I want to do like all this, you know, and I just spent like all my time practicing like the wrong things that weren't suited for my game plan because I wanted to be like something that I wasn't. So like learning too that like, it's okay to have like a very simplistic like game plan if it works for you. Like there's nothing wrong with that. You don't need to like impress people with your fancy techniques. At the end of the day, if you're winning, nobody really cares how you won, right?
So basically the complete opposite of what I try to do when I compete like once every decade.
That goes back to my like advice to Janine, right? Like as much as you guys were laughing at it, it was like, that's how I am before my matches. It's like, what are you going to do? It's like, I'm going to beat the crap out of her. I'm going to like destroy her. I'm not going to like go in and try to like, yes, I am. But like, you know, it's just like that, just a different, I have a different mindset of like it's very basic. I don't try to do anything fancy or crazy because it just,
you basically, you know what you're good at and you're like, I'm going to stick to this. It works.
And why,
I'm going to
like,
do
why
it.
would I, right? Like if I have my game plan, it's like, you know, I'm driving to Kingston. It's like, sure, I could go all these like crazy routes, but like, why wouldn't I just take the 401 and get there way quicker, you know?
At the end of the day, it's all about winning, and it doesn't really matter how you win. It's getting it done, right?
Exactly.
That's what gets you the gold. Plain and simple.
Yeah.
Like,
but if you can get it done in style, that's bonus points.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, again, we could, but you always look at like all the great people, they always do things simple, right? It's not necessarily has to be as fancy as possible. It's when we look at like win-loss record, it's always just, a lot of times it's just the same thing over and over again. Or it's the same technique or it's the same transition in there, right? They might get there differently, but it's always pretty much the same time.
Yeah, exactly.
Todger Gracie, perfect example of that. Won 10 black belt world titles by pulling close guard, dragging an arm, mounting, choking. Next.
Yeah.
pull
everyone knew what he was gonna do, and he just did it anyway. Like that's what's cool, right? It's like I know what he's gonna do, and then you just can't stop it.
So when you kind of look at as far as like this transition of obviously from athlete, police officer, COVID, all this stuff, like what have you kind of been doing to keep, whether it's in training or has it just been kind of like all over the place? Like what have you been able to do?
Yeah, it's been a little crazy. So January I went to OPC just outside of Elmer. So like training took a weird kind of dive there. I was able to like work out and stuff, but I don't like nothing's the same as jiu-jitsu in terms like I can run, I can lift weights, but it just doesn't do the same thing for me. So but I was training like once a week with the guys there. There was like a group of like 12 of us. One of the guys used to fight in the UFC. So like it was a good group while I was there. And then while I was there, all this COVID stuff happened. So when but like the college is in such a bubble that like we were still getting groceries, we were still going out for dinner. And then I came back. You
guys are isolated.
Yeah. Came back to Ottawa and it was like everything was locked down. I like couldn't leave I was like that was like really hard because you come back from being away for like 3 months and all you want to do is like see your friends and go out and see people and you can't. You're just like stuck in your house. And I'm like, I can't train. I can't go to the gym. I can't see my friends. Like what am I supposed to do? And then I started like working and training to get on the road with Ottawa. So like, yeah, like training has been a write-off essentially since January, which has been weird. Like I've, we opened up yesterday at Alpha, just doing like solo drills with like kids and adults and stuff. So it's been good, but like I have like my boyfriend trains, he's a blue belt. So like we've kind of been like training at home a little bit, but like, it's like you guys know, it's just not the same. And it's been like a challenge, but yeah, like I'm like, maybe I'll start running. And then I try running. I'm like, this is so boring. I'm like, how do people do that? Like, geez, like, you know? Yeah.
Why am I doing this to myself? Why am I torturing myself?
Yeah, this is boring. Who do you talk to? Who do you like interact with? Like, so, you know, it doesn't work for me. And yeah, so it's been hard, especially like the club is such like it's such a family for me, right? It's like owned by my dad. I've been teaching there since its inception. So it's like, it's just seeing like all the kids that I like, not getting to see them, not getting to see like the people that I train with. It's definitely been super challenging. It's like, it's a huge part of my like social circle. Right. But yeah, like I'm like, you know, obviously optimistic that things will hopefully return back to normal, but it's definitely been challenging for sure.
I think you mentioned, I think the big thing with jiu-jitsu for me, and like, I know I could probably speak for Aaron as well. I think the big thing of going to, you can train at home with like your spouse or significant other, but like, it's good to, go to the gym, interact with people.
Yeah.
You can't really do that right now. I mean, like you can go do some solo drills, wave high from like the other side of the mat, but I think that's the big thing is I think that mentally, I think helps jiu-jitsu. You just hanging out with people, shooting the shit, training jiu-jitsu, like
and just that physical release too of like stress and like it's you can run, but like I find when you're doing jiu-jitsu, like you're too worried about like not getting choked out or like armbarred to like worry about all the like other stuff that's going on in your life, right? Like so it's like you go out and run and I'm like all I'm thinking about is like all the things I have to do when I get back and all the like things I have to do for work, where it's like when I'm training it's like I'm just trying not to die, and it's like so it's like not getting to do that, and like it's been different, but I think it's like something that kind of everyone is struggling with, but hopefully hopefully things open up soon. You guys are still in stage 2, in Toronto? You haven't gone.
Yeah, we're stage 2. We'll probably be like 2 weeks behind, so we're thinking maybe like August 1st we might be able to get back to some form of like our Mike and I where we work might open up and all that kind of jazz, so we'll see what happens there.
If Brampton can get their shit together.
It's really Brampton.
What the hell, Brampton?
I feel like people say that a lot, maybe. I don't know.
Are you aware of Brampton being from Ottawa?
Kind of. Like, I've been to Brampton. Like, the Ontario Open's been in Brampton, so I've been there. I
feel sorry for you. You've been to Brampton.
But, like, I don't know like, I'm not like, Brampton.
For the record, I am from Brampton, so I'm allowed to talk negatively about Brampton, but I just,
Yeah.
For the record, Mississauga had no COVID cases yesterday, and Brampton had all of them.
All of the ones in the country, apparently.
All Brampton.
Mississauga 0. COVID official count in Brampton, all of the cases.
4,000.
So I have a question. So you said your boyfriend's a blue belt.
Yeah.
Okay. So when you guys are training, right, and he's like, hey, I got a cool move to show you, do you just like squash it right there and like that's not gonna work?
No, I'm like no. Okay, so my boyfriend's a blue belt. He's a personal trainer, like full time, which is like, and he owns his own business. So like he trains with me, but like by training I mean like he's able to train like once a month, maybe like once every couple weeks. So we just kind of roll and fool around, like try some stuff, but like like he trains kind of when he can, but he's not a super hardcore he does jiu-jitsu because like I do it and he likes it, but he just kind of squeezes it in when he can, if that makes sense. He's so busy.
Gotcha. That's fair.
Yeah. But he's not like, I've been thinking about this new move. He doesn't. I don't think he has time when he's bringing it.
Hey, Alison, I saw this on YouTube. What do you think?
No, stop. No, not important.
So obviously it was like you see like Canada's doing really well as far as COVID cases go. US is its own different story. Yeah. And when obviously nobody's been training as much as they want to and all that kind of jazz. And you see on like clubs going full out, no restrictions, all that kind of stuff. What's kind of like your thought process when you see stuff like that?
I mean, like I have my own personal thought process on like this whole thing, which is like, if I want to like, I don't know, if I want to train and like run the risk of getting sick, that should be like on me. And but like, I also understand the like public health thing and the public safety thing. I think as like a club owner, if you're willing to take that risk and have people in your club training when they're not supposed to, go for it. I think it's a big risk to take. In terms of like fines, in terms of just like the chance of somebody getting sick, like if they can trace it back to that club, like that's a scary position to be in. But again, like, I mean, I'm all for people like doing what they want to do as long as it doesn't like significantly hurt other people, right? So like if you have a group of 5 people and those 5 people are all cool with it, like cool, that's like, by all means go ahead. Like I have no, but and I get too, like, gyms have to make money. Like, it's been hard for gym owners, right? Like, as we all know, like, it hasn't been an easy situation where the government's literally like, no, you can't make your money,
sorry, you can't make a living, shop's closed.
Yeah, here's $2,000 a month. You're like, what? That's not, like, that doesn't seem the greatest. But, you know, so it's like, I get it. I get both sides. And I think, you know, people have to do what they think is best for them. And by all means, you know, go for it. But it's a risk, right?
Yeah, I wanted to ask you even about that as well. Like, I think, well, I'll ask Aaron about this too. It's like, how do you train during this? I think you mentioned it. You probably just have to find like a small group of people, like 4 people, keep it an even number, and be like, okay, we're going to train together. We're going to have a little pod going on, and we're going to train, and we're not going to really go anywhere else, or, like, you know, cough on elderly or anything like that. Like, you got to be careful at the end of the day. Like, you don't want what you're doing to drastically affect the lives of other people. Like, I don't want to be going out and training with 100 people, and then I run through Walmart streaking and I'm getting everybody sick. Like, I don't want to. Well, I think most people morally don't want to do that. So I think, I don't know, like, what do you think? Like, what is the best kind of way going forward? Like, just have a small group of people, but then, like, how do businesses survive? Like, your dad, for example, like, you like running a gym during this time. It's not the easiest task.
It's definitely not, you know, and like, we're lucky, like, we have a great group of members that are, like, supportive, but you're right. Like, it's not easy, I think. And especially, like, for what I do for a living, right? Like, I'm out there in the public around a lot of people in, like, not the greatest of states, in, like, you know, I'm getting really close to people. I'm, like, touching a lot of people. So it's like, the last thing I want to do is, like, bring that into, like, someone who doesn't want to be exposed to any of that, right? So, like, it would be irresponsible of me to, like, just be like, well, I want to train, so too bad, I'm just gonna go. And like, you know, like, it's tough, right? You have to kind of, like, look at all of those factors, and it's like, yeah, I mean, it's a balancing act. And I think if you have, like, for example, like Jesse, like my boyfriend, right? It's like, we live together, like, we're breathing the same air, we're touching all the same stuff. So it's like, if we want to roll, like, that's probably okay, you know, because we're like, you know, we've already given each other whatever, you know, we're gonna come into contact with, without sounding. But yeah, you know, so I think if you have something like that, it's fine. But I think where you run into trouble is, like, you know, how many people do I come in contact with on my shift? Probably, like, you know, 25 to 50 people a shift. And then if I bring that back, and those aren't, like, you know, a lot of those people are homeless, or, like, you know, so it's just kind of balancing it. It's tough. It's super tough. And I don't think there's an answer for it. I think that's why we're in the state we're in, you know?
Yeah, I think you can't look at it from one extreme or another, because you have one side, it's like, you open up everything. There's another one, it's close there. I think the truth is there has to be some sort of balancing act, I think, at the end of the day. Like, you can't keep businesses closed forever, but at the same time, it's like, you can't do anything silly to overexpose people to what's out there.
And like, let's be honest, jiu-jitsu is just, like, the most contact of, like, all of this. Like, I literally had someone's sweat from their, like, hairy chest fall into my mouth. Like, that's about as, like, close contact as you're ever gonna get with somebody, you know? So it's like, I get why jiu-jitsu is, like, the last sport to open up, because it's like, you're literally, like, sharing, like, sweat with someone else, you know?
Yeah, whenever I mount Aaron, I'm always, like, sweating into his eye, his mouth, and that usually happens very frequently because I'm sweaty and I'm always in mount. So.
Yeah, you know. Poor Aaron.
It's okay. I'll get him back on the next podcast. I'm not worried about it. So obviously, kind of like with you have your career that you're working on, teaching as well. Kind of like, have you given thought to, like, whether it's future in the sport or future as what you're doing right now? Kind of like, what's the next steps for you?
So, like, next steps, like, when all this, let's just say everything's normal. In a perfect world, right? Like, I'd still be training, kind of, like, when I can. And then the goal, like, we had to book our, like, 2021 holidays for work. And so I, like, have booked off the, like, week before and the week after World. So I'm like, if 2021 adult World is happening, like, I'm 100% doing it, competing there. And that's kind of be, like, that's the goal for sure. And then I was going to do Masters Worlds this year. I was super excited, super pumped for it, but obviously that's not going to happen now. So I'd love to do Masters Worlds in 2021 and just compete still as much as I can. Like I think you see this transition with people, right? Of like them being really competitive and jiu-jitsu being like all they do. And then they compete a whole bunch and then they have to, whatever reason, like their priorities change and then they stop competing. But it's like, to me, like I love competing and I use competing as like a way to learn and a way to get better. So like, yeah, it's fun to win, but like competing to me isn't only about winning. So I still want to compete. I still want to like support the jiu-jitsu scene as much as I can, especially locally. So it's like, yeah, like I still want to do all the things I've been doing. It's just going to now be like the expectations are going to be a bit different, right? It's not going to be like, you know, it's going to be like, okay, like you're competing against girls who like, this is all they do, right? This is their life. This is like what they live and breathe for. And it's not what you live and breathe for anymore. And that's okay. Like, but it's just, the matches might be a little bit different and you might have to like change up what your expectations are. And not to say like, I'm going to go in thinking I'm going to lose, but it's just not the same. I don't know if that makes sense.
I feel like you're digging. I feel like you're digging at me. You said, you know, there's some people that compete and then they just don't compete anymore. I'm like, ow, my feelings. Like that hurt.
Well, but it's hard though, right? Like if I like am used to winning and then I go and compete and I'm not winning anymore, like I'm not like, I wish I was the person. Yeah, I'm like, ow. I'm 100% going to be upset. Sorry. But you know, like but it's I love it. Like I've competed in every sport I've ever done. And to me, that's a big part of sport is like something can be great and you can do it 100 times perfect in practice. But if you can't do it when it really matters, I don't know, like it's just it's like a different level of like performance and proficiency that you have to have at that.
Oh, again. Ow. Like, ow.
You're taking it for what it's worth. I'm not
tearing me apart here. Jeez.
I fucking love it. Fucking love it. I hope you're bleeding inside.
She's digging into me more than like Aaron tries to dig into me like ever.
I'm not even trying.
I will say for the record, I did have a super match or a super fight. Actually, I want to ask you about that. Is jiu-jitsu a fight? Random question to both of you.
No. I'm gonna probably
match.
Yeah, it's a match. It's a game. Like realistically, it's a game. And like, but jiu-jitsu can be used in a fight. But I think it's a game. Like, I'm sorry, but in a fight, and like if you tap out in a fight, nothing's gonna happen. The person's gonna continue to beat the shit out of you. Where like, so it just changes like the stress level, right? So I think jiu-jitsu is a game. I think it's a match. I think there's a big difference between like jiu-jitsu and fighting, but like fighting a fight. But I think a person who knows jiu-jitsu would beat an untrained person all the time in a fight, if that makes sense. But I don't think it's
absolutely. I don't know. I just thought like pulling on a lapel, pulling it out. I'm like, this is war. This is a fight.
Yeah. Like,
absolutely. It's totally a fight.
Like when I'm competing, I'm like, this is war, like do or die. But there's always that little thing in the back of your head where it's like, if ever I don't want to be here, I can just tap out and someone will come and rescue me. Where like in a fight, that's not going to happen. You know, in a fight, you have to get out yourself.
Yeah, it's all about fighting for positioning and like chess moves. But again, like you said, it's a game. You're making move for move. It's a game. So I would call it a match more than anything. It's not really necessarily a fight. Whereas a fight, as you said, you can tap out if you want. But again, a fight, a person keeps going. And that's the reality.
Aaron, lapel guard is absolutely 100% a fight. Changed my mind.
Ooh, so are we going to ask this question then? So we haven't asked this question in a while. So what was it? The Berimbolo, will it work in a street fight?
I mean, like, maybe. Like, if you're fighting somebody that has, like, no clue, probably depends. But, like, is that probably the most advantageous position to be in a street fight? Probably not. Like, there's a lot of bad things that can happen to you from there. Sorry if I'm offending someone right now. Mike over there, I don't know.
Come on. I've done some crazy things. I don't think I would ever try that.
I think there's a big difference between like sport jiu-jitsu and stuff that like will work and will win you jiu-jitsu matches, but I don't think you necessarily want to do those things in a fight. Like it's like if I have to arrest somebody and they're fighting me, I'm not going to like pull guard and get them in like De La Hiva. I'm going to be like, no, fuck you. And I'm going to get on top and I'm going to do what I have to do. Right.
Yeah. You pretty much said it. You can, back to your analogy earlier. It's like, can you take the 401 or to go to Kingston? I don't know why you'd want to go to Kingston, but to 401 to go to Kingston.
Mike lives in Kingston. He's going to be so mad that you shit on Kingston.
Who's that?
Mike. He drinks the Kingston Kool-Aid.
Oh, I mean, Kingston is a fantastic, wonderful city that is much, much better than Brampton, for the record. I will go on record and say that. But
oh, no, we lost a follower.
We lost a follower. This guy, somebody's probably watching this like, what the fuck? I'm from Brampton. Thumbs down on YouTube. Suck. Stop talking about COVID. But I think your analogy from earlier, I think is perfect because you said like, hey, in a street fight, you can pull guard and berimbolo. And you know what? If somebody has no idea what they're doing and they don't know what that is, you can probably do it. Or you can take them down, mount, control them.
Yeah.
There's a lot simpler, like straightforward line of attack, which I think is a lot more your style of jiu-jitsu.
Yeah. Yeah.
So when you, like, I always like asking this question, it's like, because you've been around the sport for so long, whereas what do you think is like going to take the next step for Canada to kind of like grow even bigger than what it is right now?
So I have an opinion about this.
Ooh, I like opinions.
This is why we have you on. We want to create more controversy. Go on.
Well, it'll probably work. No, I think Canadians like just need to support Canadians more. Like, and I know that there's like big names in Brazil and big names in the States and like all of that. And like, those people are great, but like, I see this question being asked all the time, like by people like, how can we support Canadian Jiu-Jitsu? And then they post like videos of like 2 people from like the States fighting. And it's like, yeah, those people are great, but it's like, let's also just like highlight great Canadian talent. And I think we just need to do more of that. Like there's great Canadian competitors. Like there's like Jacinta's not competing anymore, but like Jacinta, there's Cameron Florzak, there's like a whole bunch of people that like actively go out and compete that are from here. And like, we have to, like Canadians, we have to be like, hey, look, these people are Canadian, like go them, like they're awesome. Instead of like looking at like, you know, what people in the States and Brazil and all of, and it's hard because like those people are the ones that are like at the top right now in the sport. But I think just from like a camaraderie perspective, I think the best way to like expose more Canadian talent is just to, like support those Canadians that are competing at like the highest level. So like support those that are competing at Worlds and like really do a good job of like promoting those individuals too, you know?
I think it's what me and Aaron are trying to do, like even podcasting, like get a lot of good Canadian jiu-jitsu talent on here as well. We'll get like a lot of international people on, of course, over time, and we'll do some other things there. But I think you mentioned that as well, because every time you look at, it's like, okay, we're gonna study some film. It's like, all right, the top guys in the U.S., top guys in Brazil, top Brazilian. Like
there's nothing wrong with that, but like you can take like for the women, for example, like you can take like Vicky, myself, Janine. You can take Jessica. Like there's so many girls like competing at that top level that like you can look at, and like same with the guys too. Like it's not like we don't have anybody competing at like these top tournaments. So it's like, let's support those people while we're doing all of this stuff too, you know? Absolutely.
You just rattle off a bunch of names that I want to have on here as well that are like world-class talent. But Aaron, anything else you want to anything else you want to throw in, or do you want to wrap us up for the evening, sir?
I don't know. No, it's like, I do, because like she brought up a great point, right? Where we talk about like talking about Canadian talent, right? And it's just like, what platforms do we need to get them on, right? Like that, I think that's the biggest thing, right? It's getting exposure.
This podcast here with 10 viewers.
I know, like
10 viewers.
But I think like I get frustrated too, like sorry, but like I get frustrated like from, you know, it's like I see like people being brought in for seminars, like girls being like flown in from like the States and Brazil for these seminars, but it's like, why aren't we getting like, you know, Canadian people to run seminars at our clubs? Like, why are we not, you know, like what a great way to like not only pick their brains, but now we get to like financially support these athletes. Like why not do that before we like, you know, go and a lot of these top Canadian talents have like beaten the people that we're bringing in for these seminars. So it's like, you know, it's like, why are we like going outside for stuff that we have right in house?
I agree 100%. Like I think you just nailed it. It's like, why isn't, you know, like somebody like a Cameron Florzak doing more seminars and going to different schools, or why isn't an Alison Tremblay back in the day? Why aren't you doing more seminars or things like that? Is that something that you want to do specifically, or just, an idea to?
Like, yeah, like I'm always like, I've done a bunch, like I've done a seminar in Kingston. I've done a couple in Ottawa, you know, and like, yeah, they're super fun. And it's great just to like, it's a good way for like other people to meet me and me to meet other people in the community. And it's just, it brings everybody together, right? It like supports, it's like buying local, you know, it's like, let's buy from like the grocery store down the street instead of going and buying at like Walmart, you know?
Absolutely. Like, and I think
good. If not better.
It's not like it was like, because we've talked to a lot of the OGs, like we had Dan Maroney on, like we had a lot of like original like black belts on, and back when they were training, like there weren't like a big crop of guys to train with. Like if you were a blue belt, like that was like you're like high ranking. I was like a black belt now. So I think that culture of like 20 years ago, like, okay, let's bring this guy up for a seminar, let's bring that guy up. But now I think in the Canadian jiu-jitsu scene, I would say is like, there's so many black belts that are here in Canada. There's you're a black belt as well. Like there's a lot of talent here that is, I think that can do just as good of a job in teaching and coaching. And like, I don't think you need to, I mean, it's good to bring up like world champions and things to train with as well. And kind of see like, okay, like this is the level that they're at. Like,
absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, I think we're gonna have to create basically a huge super card. I think that's what's gonna happen of all Canadian talent.
Yeah, that'd be sweet. Because there's so many, right? And it's like, and I feel bad too, because I'm sure like Ontario's a little bubble of jiu-jitsu, and I'm sure there's like great talent like in all the other provinces too that like I just don't, you know, like we just don't see, we don't hear of, right? So it's
there's
like,
a lot. We're just talking Ontario, but like we want to talk Canada. Like there's a lot more.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest thing. I think especially guys like Mike and I, we need to start getting more people, especially Vancouver, all the way across to Newfoundland, and try and get as many people as possible on this platform we can start broadcasting everybody out as much as possible.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. That'd be great.
And then me and Aaron will start doing seminars as well. We're going to go on a world tour. We're going to pack the bus, and we're going to teach everybody how to not suck like us. That's what we're going to do.
Exactly.
Like back in I'm like, I remember a sub-X fight of myself. This is how I got triangled. If this happens, you're not going to have a good time.
Yeah, exactly. No, there's value in that for sure. But I remember you like back in the day, like competing all the time. Like it's just so like we were at like all those old all those like bravados, you know, all those like old school tournaments back in the day.
I think we need to see that more too. Like just more people traveling, training, competing. Yeah. Like I think organically, then things will keep bubbling up and growing. And then even wrapping it back up to what you're saying about like, you know, women and getting them into jiu-jitsu. If there's more women doing jiu-jitsu, there's more higher ranking women doing jiu-jitsu. Like, I think organically that section will grow as well.
Absolutely. Yeah, I totally agree. I think it's going to take time, but as long as like, you know, everyone just keeps doing their part, it's like look, like you said, right? Like look where jiu-jitsu was in Ontario 10 years ago, and you look at where it is now, and it's like not even the same. Like it's crazy. So it's like we just got to keep doing what we're doing, and it's just going to take time. We're a small country, like, you know, we just don't have the same amount of people that like the US has, so it's just going to like, you know, it's going to take more time.
Excellent. Alison, I want to thank you very much for coming on the podcast today. It's been an amazing conversation. I hope you had fun, because we sure did. Is there anybody like whether it's sponsors or anybody you want to thank? We always like to let you guys close it off for us.
Yeah, I mean, I think my dad, my main coach, head coach, like he is like someone who just like doesn't get enough credit for what he does. He's someone who just like consistently produces like amazing talent in like such a small community and such a small gym. And I think it's funny, like a lot of people like either don't realize, like don't appreciate it, or like kind of like not downplay, but like what's the word I'm looking, like they see what he does, but they just kind of take it for granted. They're like, oh yeah, but like he's like an amazing coach and like an amazing mentor and like an amazing person, and like without like all the help from him, like I wouldn't be the athlete that I am today. And it's just like, I think he definitely doesn't get enough credit from me or from like everyone else. So it's just a big thanks to him, because like, yeah, without him, I'd be like some loser adult somewhere doing God knows what. So I don't know what I'd be like, you know, but yeah, like and it's just, and yeah, and like having, like I said before, I talked about Mike, but like Mike's awesome. Having him to like train with and grow up with and like grow up doing jiu-jitsu with was awesome. And like he lives in Kingston now, but we still get to train together and still see each other and stuff. And it's but yeah, those two are like the main people on my team, on my tribe, that like have helped me to kind of get where I am. So those two are the best.
Nice. It's good talking to you tonight. What I'm actually even thinking for the future, I want to maybe do another podcast with you and Mike as well.
Yeah,
that'd be a good one. For people who don't know, Michael Tremblay is Alison's is he younger brother, older brother?
He's younger, but everyone either thinks that he's older or that we're twins. But I
wanted to say younger, but I just wanted to make sure.
Yeah, he's definitely younger. Yeah, no, he's fun, and we have some good like sibling jiu-jitsu rivalry stories that we can share with everybody that are pretty. I think they're pretty funny. But we've come a long way.
All right.
Yeah.
Awesome. No, I like it. We'll definitely do that.
Cool.
Awesome. Well, I want to thank you again very much. Thank you so much. Be safe out there, obviously. And hopefully we can all get together one day, and then we'll train, and then we'll do a podcast together.
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah.
Sweet. Awesome. Thanks, guys.
Awesome. Thank you so much.